Welcome back, folks. This is Different Spectrums. I'm your host, Spencer. We are joined today with Vic, our licensed clinical therapist in Michigan. And then we're also joined with Nazir,
the vivacious,
certified, licensed
voluptuous,
therapist.
the heavy duty, certified therapist.
That's your toilet, heavy duty. All right, here we go. All right, so today we're taking a look again at She-Hulk, the new series. We're going to be looking at the scene where she gets catcalled. So a little bit of backstory. She blacks out from being, or she hulks out. There you go, hulks out, and then she wakes up, and then now she's going to the bar. And as she's going there, she gets catcalled by some guys, and yeah. This might be a little bit of trigger warning. Nazir is going to be talking about it. So, yeah.
Yep. So I just want to bring up a trigger warning for some folks just that might have dissociation issues or the catcalling scene. And I know I felt some type of way and kind of gross when I was watching it. So if there's any sexual assault in your past or any assaulty things, anything like that, you might want to stay away from the scene. I'm sure you'll be fine watching it. But still, I would save yourself from watching it if there's any issues in prior history. You can just watch a different episode at a different time. That's just a heads up for folks. So we're going to get into the scene. We're going to check it out right now. All right.
Who did this to you?
Are you okay?
Okay, no judgments, but whoever did this to you does not care about you.
You do not need him.
Or her.
Or them.
But you do need shoes, because this is a public bathroom.
Oh, right.
Got some here. Take these right here.
Yes, and then let's put this on.
Oh, thank you, but I just need to get cleaned up. I don't need you to put makeup on me.
Yes, you do.
Do you have anywhere to go?
I have to call my cousin to get me. Can I borrow somebody's phone?
Oh, sure.
Here you go, girl.
Well, ladies' night was a bust.
Take care, guys. So where are we going, fellas?
I don't know.
What's the word?
He has the keys.
Hey. What's up? How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
You with anyone?
I'm waiting for my ride.
What's your name?
I think my boyfriend's just.
Oh, come on. Where you going? Let us keep you
Hey,
company.
we're just being friendly.
Yeah, where you going? So what? You too good to talk to us?
All right, Vic, what's your first thoughts on that scene?
I'm sorry. I laugh at how she just hawked up on them. That was funny. That was funny. I'm sorry. But I like how the women kind of rallied around her, like, oh, you poor thing. Let's help you. Let's come to your aid. Let's support you. Maybe some of them had a shared experience at some point. But yeah, I can definitely relate. Like, as a woman, you're minding your business and a guy comes along and finds you attractive and they're like, hey, you know, they feel entitled to talk to you and want your number. And you're like, no, I'm good. I'm unbothered, actually. So, yeah, I mean, it's different. I don't know if you guys, Nas, Spence, if you had that experience before, and I can't assume, because everyone's had different experiences. So you guys may have been catcalled by women before.
Closest thing I ever got catcalled was at the gym by a really old white dude. I was on the Bosu ball. He was just like, "You're doing really well with that." I'm like, all right. All right. I don't know.
I've
I
had
don't know
a
what
few
to do.
things here and there with some folks. A couple times with women, it's older women too. Boy, they love some nice older women. I got this lady down the street that be stalking me when I'm like doing yard work and stuff. I'm like, good. She good looking though. She good looking, but she might be about 95. Hey, one of them hips work. Oh, I need to edit this part.
No, that's got to be in it.
Okay.
I'm definitely sending her the link next time I'm in Indiana.
I've never felt uncomfortable in a situation and fear for my body from any of the things that I might have experienced. So it might be a smidge, but nothing like this. This scene creeps me out, but I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, Vicky, continue what you were saying.
And I'm glad you brought the like the weight height disadvantage. And maybe this might be like an educational point for some of our male viewers who may have catcalled before or thought about doing it. Women, particularly if they're alone and you're doing that, we're thinking safety. Like, as the guy stated, are you here with anyone? Basically, do you have protection nearby? Is anyone with you? Are you with the guy? Is your man here? Basically, is what they're kind of probing at. Because if you're alone, then I can take physical advantage of you. I can do whatever I want to because I'm a guy. So that's kind of what I took from it. That's why, going to Western and I would go out with my, teammates. I was the mama bear. Like, we came together, we leave together. No one's going separate or doing their own things. We come as a tribe, we leave as a tribe. So that's why you always see a pack of women always going out versus going out alone. It's easy for a guy to go out by himself as a lone wolf, but if a woman does that, no. If a woman wears certain things, she asked for it.
Yep.
So,
and we might have some folks on the podcast and they might hear this and might disagree with those statements that you just said. And that's fine. It's valid. You can disagree with those things, but this might not be the place for you to be listening. Because we're talking about safety, and this is a mental health podcast, and the violence towards women or femme presenting is legit serious, and it can affect people's mental health. Just like it affects me and Spencer's mental health when we feel attacked or perceived dangerous, and then people try to man up or masculinize on us. So it is valid. Just want to make sure folks know that. You can disagree, but also be kind on this podcast. Well, when you watch the scene, Spence, what's immediate, just what you're thinking? Don't go into therapy sense. Just what are you just watching as you as a film buff?
It's a film buff.
Use a film buff.
Like scenes like this they're tough because once again, it's like I don't have really experience on either side. I really don't. Like I barely got enough courage to talk to my girlfriend. I was like, hi. That was it.
Especially them good kids, them good old boys. He good kid. He kind. He nerdy. Girls, get you a Spence.
I don't like how you tell me I do that. I don't like it.
Get you a Spence. He's a nerdy kid in the library. Don't talk to no girls. Get you on there.
Library. Ugh. All right. More in my room. All right. Yeah. I mean, I don't really get. I understand like a guy's point of view in a sense if he's trying to just like get to know somebody off the bat, you know what I'm saying? Like something like that, right? Because in what area is it like okay to like actually talk to a woman, right? It's when you're out and about, right? It's like at the bar, maybe, right? But then it's like everywhere else gets murky. And so I get that, but this is obviously completely different because it was a group of guys just trying to,
intimidate,
hit on one woman, right? And so it's always a tough scene to really kind of wrap your head around that, especially when you're coming from my point of view where I'm just like, all right, good, bye, see you later.
Yeah, because you're not that type of cat. You're not the type of guy. You don't think like that.
No. Come to me.
So, Vic, where do you think I'm going with this?
Safety.
Solid guess.
Safety.
Spence.
I think you're going more towards, especially when at the end, where you're instead of like literally punching your students, because I don't think you do that, right? No? Okay, good.
I thought about it.
I don't know.
Mm.
No. I think more you're kind of like that deterrent, especially kind of mentally, to kind of go like, okay, if you do something, then you could hurt somebody, you could hurt yourself. And we don't want any of that. We kind of want to make sure that you're being safe in all regards, just physically and mentally.
Solid.
Yeah.
I went over that with many of my women and femme presenting clients, where it's like, hey, there's certain things that we got to take in consideration. I said it in the last episode, shouldn't have to say this, men should be better, but we know that they're not. So there's some precautions that we need to do. That conversation has been had many of times. That conversation has been had with many of my students of color and the police many of times. Certain things that you have to do to protect yourself. This situation, so this is one of the ones where, I done talked to so many clients now. And I done had so many of those horrific scenes told to me and stories told to me. So now when it gets creepy in any form, I'm like, fuck. Like something bad's going to happen. So I thought she was a woman of color, right? And so I thought she was Latina. And then we looked her up. Maybe in the show she's Latina, but her actual ethnicity is European, Polish to Ukrainian, German. But she's born in Canada, the actress. But I thought she was Latina. I thought it'd be an all-white bar. I thought it was going to be one of them like biker bars, and I was scared for her because of her race and because of her gender. So I was like, oh no, she's going to get hurt, violence. And then I wasn't really scared for her body in a sexual way until the catcalling. And immediately I was like, this is going to get bad fast. In my mind, I knew that she was the Hulk and she'd be able to protect herself. But I thought about all the other women that I worked with. I'm like, God, it must be horrible to be in that situation. So to me, I was just scared. I was like legit scared. I hate those type of scenes. Me and you talked about it podcast before, or maybe we didn't even say it. But on the Birds of Prey of Harley Quinn. And it's like super creepy and kind of assaulty the entire show. And I'm like terrified that she's going to be taken advantage of the entire time. I'm like, why did we make it like this? What is going on? But maybe that's just me and the way I think. Because I know what humans can do when someone looks like her and she's wearing a pink fluffy outfit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I was going with it. Just my immediate reaction to possible harm to her body. So as a deep empath, that's where I go. So the therapizing is going to be for folks of color, women, and my neurodivergent folks. As Vicky talked about in the last episode of She-Hulk, it gets tiring putting on that mask and that persona, and you're always having to check yourself and modify and hold things back and just change. It's just so much that you have to consider and intellectualize that you're tired. When you become more and more tired, when you feel more and more incongruent with the people that you're around, your company, your classmates, your professors, and how they treat you and work with you, how men treat you in the room, it leads to higher rates of depression. High rates of anxiety, high rates of depression. Higher rates of depression lead to higher rates of suicidality. So when we're looking at this code switching, we don't really know this about folks of color, but this code switching thing does cause mental health issues. Mm-hmm. It does cause burnout. It does cause dissatisfaction in the job. And then you look at my neurodivergent kiddos that put up just their whole life. And they don't even know that they're doing it. That's the thing. They don't even know that they're doing it, but they're doing it. Because that's the only way to survive is to mimic and replicate. So we mimic and we replicate. I remember when one of my supervisors, I was like, hey. She was like, what? It's like, I think I'm on the spectrum. Like, no, you're not. You're just replicating some of the things that your clients do. And I told my boy this, and he's like, yeah, that's what autistic people do. We replicate what other people do. And I was like, fuck. Valid point.
You got me there.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have that conversation with that friend, neurodivergent friend, until like a year ago. And that situation with that supervisor happened like 3 years ago. So, all right, I've come into my full acceptance into this diagnosis of myself within the last year, and my father. Different story for a different day. But Pops is hella spectrum me. When he sees this, yes, I'm making fun of you and your fucking overstimulated ass. Jesus Christ. So, I'm talking about masking and camouflaging. Folks that are neurodivergent, camouflaging. If you want to do that cat cue that we've talked about in previous episodes, wonderful thing to look at. But also folks of color go through the same thing. All of us are assimilating the culture. All of us, period. Because you're trying to fit in with the cool kids, the weird kids, the goth kids, the rich kids. You're trying to look like a certain athlete or a prototype. You're always trying to modify yourself to what this other genre of humans are. And with that becomes fatigue. With that comes incongruent, and you just feel like shit. And then you don't even know who you are. Because who are you? Are you just a replication of all the people that you think you should act like? And then that's when some of our clients are like, oh, they're borderline. No, they're not. It's all this masking and camouflaging that they don't know, have no identity. It's a trauma. So I brought up this scene. Why? Why am I bringing about masking? Because in that moment, you can see her put on the mask. Quickly. Oh, as soon as she see the man walk outside, immediately knows that she's in danger or like attention will be brought to her. So she moves over to the side, tries to hide behind that wooden plank. Okay. And then they ask, hey, how you doing? And you're like, you waiting for someone? Oh, yeah, I've got someone coming. I think I see him pulling up, right? She's already trying to camouflage into safety to get away from them, to make herself less appealing, less attractive, less sociable. It's intense. I would hate to have to deal with that. That's it. I already deal with that as a neurodivergent folk, but I would, in a person of color, I would hate to also have to add gender and my physical body being harmed on top of that. That's why I picked the scene. So, Vicky, what you thinking about?
It made me think back to when
we're going way back.
Me and Michelle went to Egypt, and we were traveling back from the resort, and we were trying to get in touch with our friend Z, and the guy who wanted his friends to drive us back. He waited till the last minute and said, "Oh, I could take you guys," and we're like, "We booked the bus back to Cairo," which took 5 hours to get back. It should have took 3. Anyways, when we get to our final destination, it was like in the middle of the city and trash was everywhere. And we're basically just waiting. You know, there's taxi drivers coming up to us and they're like, oh, you want to ride? And we're like, no, we're good. And I had to take that masculine role. Like, no, our friend's coming. Our friend is coming, while Michelle booked us an Uber. And I never felt like so unsafe around all these men. Like they were just coming up to us and we're with our luggage. Like, and I'm just thinking, shit, we should have waited. Maybe we should have took the ride back instead of the bus. And, you know, immediately my mind goes to safety. Like we have to be safe. Even when I was on the resort, I decided to go for a run, and they were building on the resort, and there was like 30 men on this vehicle. And I was running, and they drove past me, and they were all just gawking at me. And I never felt so uncomfortable my entire life. And I was kind of thinking like, well, are they looking at me because they're not used to seeing Black people run here? Or are they looking at me because I have on this top and shorts and I'm in a mostly Muslim country, you know? So, you know, all those things kind of come into play. So just based on my own personal experience, I was just like, ooh, like, you know, as a woman, there's always going to be a disadvantage. And then when you add on other demographics like, person of color, all those things kind of come into play. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And like the scene that you mentioned, how she tried to make herself look small and she's trying to cover herself and be unseen and trying not to really communicate or have a conversation. And it just kept coming, even though she kept, you know, she's basically saying, I'm not interested, guys. Like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to be bothered. And they're like, well, why not? You know, so that happens, unfortunately, all the time. and the masking, having to take on a different persona to be a different person, or, just to kind of protect yourself in situations like that.
Yep. Tyron. Yep.
I have to share this story, and you guys might laugh.
Go do it.
My mom told me this story. She was a teenager. She went to Osborne High School in Detroit. And she said she had to catch the bus back and forth to get to school, go home. And she said this guy was like trying to talk to her. And she was just like, I kept telling him, like, I'm not interested. So she told me she decided to start digging her nose. And then the guy just kind of looked at her and walked off. And I was just like, when she told me the story, I was like in tears. I'm like, you really did that? And she was like, yeah. But for her to have to go to that extreme to do that, for a guy to be like, I'm not fucking with her.
Yeah.
Come on. That's terrible.
Gross.
True.
Yeah.
A client told me this. Because she got, consulted with her homegirls, and they said, well, or a mentor or something like that. And she didn't like the comments. Older woman, young woman I worked with, and then talking to an older woman. They said, well, if you just would stop looking pretty or look uglier, then you wouldn't have these issues.
Mm.
I'm like, I understand what you're trying to say, but also no. And I also said, well, since I was a therapist, I said that reaction and response is actually kind of common, especially with older generations, because some of them have actually been trained to be uglier or thicker or dressed down, so that way they're not assaulted. I remember my professor, black woman, old, experienced. I'm not gonna call her old. I'm gonna call her experienced. Because she ever heard
seasoned,
kick my ass. Yeah, seasoned.
You said old with like a base. You said old.
Old. Okay, that's because she is old. She old as dirt. She old as dirt, boy. Professor Owens, I love you. But she said to all of us, since she's so old and she was raised in a certain way, they was housekeepers, and up in the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. Since there was housekeepers for all these rich white folk and there was poor black folk, it was the girls. And so her mom was so scared for her body and safety that she would keep her fat. They would overfeed the girls and dress them very down. That way they wouldn't be hurt or assaulted. And so Professor said, I didn't even dress up until I got to college because my mom was, doing it to protect us. And I was like, Jesus Christ. Gross. And so I told my client, I said, these are common experiences for people of a different generation. This is how they deal with it. It doesn't make what she said right, but I can understand why she would say that. She's like, oh, well, thank you for helping me understand where she came from. I said, yeah, I've heard this before. I've also heard like men say this too. Well, you wanted it because you had them leggings on. Two different conversations. Those two separate things. All right. So that was the scene. Spence, you got your 2 cents before we get out of here?
Everybody love everybody.
Oh, God. I would say everybody respect everyone and treat everyone
shut up.
correctly. Yeah, everyone love everyone. That's that all lives matter stuff. We got to watch out.
Oh, my goodness.
First of all, no, that was from Semi-Pro. Will Ferrell said it himself.
Oh, okay.
All right.
He's the only white guy in Flint, but somehow he's the only one that got on that movie. Oh, I'm just saying.
Hey, all I'm just saying is blue lives matter. All right. So, sorry.
What'd you just say? Oh, I'm better than that. I'm better than that. I know he don't believe that, so I'm better than that. Fuck, I'm gonna have to write that down to edit that. We will literally lose everyone. The 5 people that watch us, including my dad.
What'd he say?
Yeah, boy. All right. I'm just gonna edit that one bit out, and then it'll just be us laughing, and then I'll edit this part out. Cue awkward dance. No. Spence, what do you want us to do? This is so fucked up.
Like and subscribe, people. It's a great time.
All the people that we just lost, please like and subscribe.
They're all gone. Please come back. Please
come back.
I swear I'll treat you better, girl. I swear.
You
Please
say
share.
you won't.
like, subscribe. You said you won't. After that, yep. Again, thank you for all the folks on Instagram. Right, we've gotten like 200 some followers this week added. We'll be up to 1,000 and probably by tomorrow. Appreciate that. Continue to listen on the podcast side. Also on the YouTube side. Want to thank Vicky again for coming on. We're
Thank you guys for having me.
Oh yeah, we're gonna link her details because she is a certified therapizer in the state of Michigan.
Stamp on it.
So all my folks out in Detroit listening to the podcast, if you need someone, or if you know someone and you like Vicky's vibe, or if you know someone of color that needs a therapist, give her a shout out. I'm sure you're on Psychology Today, or no? No, I'll just put your link on there. Mentally fit.
Yeah.
Mentally fit.
Thank
all right,
you.
folks. We out. Cue the awkward dance. I'm getting it. Yeah. Look back at it. Who behind me? Oh, shit. It's a panda.
Oh, damn.
Oh, he a big one. All right.
Tell me what you